My grandmother's old rocking chair creaked beneath me as I sat in her farmhouse living room, surrounded by dust motes dancing in the afternoon sunlight. The lawyer, Mr. Patterson, adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and cleared his throat, preparing to read the will. My Uncle Richard, Aunt Patricia, and their 3 children sat across from me, barely concealing their anticipation. I'm Emily Turner, 32, and until last week, I'd been a mid-level financial analyst at Morgan Stanley. Had been being the operative phrase, the downsizing had come without warning. Now, sitting in my late grandmother's home, I felt like a failure twice over. To my beloved family, Mr. Patterson began, his voice echoing in the sparse room. I, Margaret Rose Turner, being of sound mind. The standard legal preamble washed over us. I noticed my cousin Bethany checking her manicure, while her brother Marcus scrolled through his phone. Only their younger sister Sarah seemed to be paying attention, though her interest appeared more predatory than respectful. Uncle Richard's eyes kept darting to the antique grandfather clock in the corner, a family heirloom worth more than my annual salary. Aunt Patricia's fingers tapped impatiently against her designer handbag. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. To my son Richard and his wife Patricia, Mr. Patterson continued, I leave my securities portfolio, valued at approximately $2.1 million. Uncle Richard's face broke into a triumphant smile. Aunt Patricia squeezed his hand, their matching tennis bracelets catching the light. To my grandchildren Bethany, Marcus, and Sarah, I leave my properties in the Hamptons and Martha's Vineyard to be divided equally among them. 3 satisfied smirks. Of course, Grandma's vacation homes would go to them. They'd spend every summer there, while I stayed behind to help her maintain the farm. And to my granddaughter Emily. The room suddenly felt very still. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting to see what scraps had been left for the family disappointment. I leave my farm, including all 200 acres of land and the main house, along with its contents. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before Uncle Richard burst out laughing. The farm? That worthless plot of dirt? He wiped tears from his eyes. Oh, Mother, you always did have a sense of humor. Perfect for a failure like you, Emily, Bethany added, her voice dripping with false sympathy. You can play farmer since you couldn't hack it in finance. I sat there, my face burning, as Mr. Patterson continued reading. The farm had been in our family for generations, but its glory days were long past. The fields hadn't been properly worked in years, and the house needed substantial repairs. To my relatives, it was worthless, a burden really. The property taxes alone would be challenging on my savings. There's more, Mr. Patterson said, adjusting his glasses again. Along with the farm, Emily is to receive the contents of Safety Deposit Box 247 at First National Bank, to be opened no earlier than 1 week after this reading. That caught everyone's attention. Uncle Richard's laughter died in his throat. A safety deposit box. Sarah's voice had an edge to it. What's in it? The contents are not specified in the will, Mr. Patterson replied calmly. Now, if you'll all sign these documents. The next hour was a blur of paperwork and barely concealed hostility. As my relatives filed out, each clutching their copies of the will, Uncle Richard paused by my chair. You should sell it to us, he said, trying to sound casual. The farm, will give you a fair price. Save you the hassle of dealing with it. I looked up at him, remembering all the summers I'd spent here with Grandma while his family enjoyed their beach vacations. How she taught me about the land, the history, the old property markers that had been in place since before the Civil War. I think I'll hold on to it for now, I said quietly. His face hardened. Don't be foolish, Emily. What do you know about managing a farm? You can barely manage your own career. The words stung, but something in his tone made me more determined. It's mine now, Uncle Richard. Grandma wanted me to have it. He shrugged, but I caught the flash of anger in his eyes. Your funeral, kid. Don't come crying to us when the property taxes bankrupt you. After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house, listening to the wind whistle through the old windows. Why had Grandma left me the farm? And what was in that safety deposit box we had to wait to open? The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. I moved my things from my small city apartment to the farmhouse, started cataloging repairs needed, and began researching property management. The work helped keep my mind off my recent job loss and the snide remarks from my relatives. Then came the call that would change everything. Ms. Turner? The voice on the phone was professional, clipped. This is Amanda Chen from First National Bank's Property Division. We're updating our records and noticed some irregularities regarding your grandmother's farm. My heart skipped a beat. Irregularities? Yes. Our surveyors were reviewing the original property lines and, well, we found something unusual in the historical records. Something that significantly impacts the property's value. Could you come in to discuss this in person? I gripped the phone tighter, remembering Grandma's sly smile whenever she talked about the farm's history. Of course. When? As soon as possible. And Ms. Turner, you might want to bring a lawyer. As I hung up, my eyes drifted to the calendar. The safety deposit box could be opened in 2 days. Somehow, I knew these things were connected. Grandma had always said timing was everything. I looked out the window at the sprawling fields, the old barn, the distant tree line. What secrets had my grandmother hidden in this worthless piece of land? And why did I have a feeling my uncle's sudden interest in buying the property wasn't as innocent as he claimed? Standing in the fading sunlight, surrounded by the creaks and whispers of the old house, I made a decision. Whatever Grandma had left me, whatever truth lay hidden in those property records, I would see this through. After all, she hadn't raised me to back down from a challenge. Tomorrow, I would start making calls to lawyers, to surveyors, to anyone who could help me understand what I'd really inherited. But tonight, I had some research of my own to do, starting with Grandma's old study, where generations of family papers lay waiting in dusty boxes. If Uncle Richard thought I was going to roll over and sell this farm without understanding its true value, he had seriously underestimated both me and my grandmother. The game was just beginning, and I intended to play it through to the end. Little did I know, the revelations waiting in that safety deposit box would shake our family to its core and transform my worthless inheritance into something that would make headlines across the state. 2 days later, I stood in the bank's private viewing room, staring at safety deposit box 247. Mr. Patterson, my grandmother's lawyer, hovered nearby while Amanda Chen from the property division waited by the door. "Are you ready, Miss Turner?" Amanda asked. I nodded, inserting the key with trembling fingers. Inside, I found 3 items: a leather-bound journal, a USB drive, and a yellowed envelope marked Property Records, 1932. "I think you should see this first," Amanda said, pulling out a large folder of her own. "These are the survey records we discovered. Your grandmother's farm sits on what was once the original Northwestern Railway junction." I finished, reading from the 1932 document I just opened. "I know. I found the original plans in her study last night." Amanda's eyes widened. "Then you understand the implications?" I did. The worthless farm wasn't just 200 acres of agricultural land. It was the key piece of property connecting 3 major transportation routes that several major development companies had been trying to acquire for years. Your grandmother, Mr. Patterson spoke up, was quite strategic about this. She knew exactly what she was doing when she left you the farm. I opened the journal, my grandmother's familiar handwriting bringing tears to my eyes. "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, then everything has gone according to plan. While your uncle and his children were busy chasing status and easy money, you were the only one who took the time to understand the true value of our land. The USB drive contains everything: the original railway documents, the mineral rights surveys from 1955, and most importantly, the development proposals that have been coming in for the past decade. I've turned down offers ranging from $50 million to $120 million. Why? Because this land is worth far more than money. It's about legacy, about doing what's right for the community that has supported our family for generations. In the development plans folder, you'll find my vision for what this property could become. But the choice is yours now. Just remember, timing is everything. And watch out for your uncle. He knows more than he lets on. All my love, Grandma." My phone buzzed. A text from Uncle Richard. "Changed your mind about selling yet? Our offer stands." I smiled, thinking of the property proposals in my hand. "Actually," I typed back, "I have a meeting with Morrison Development Group tomorrow. Seems they're very interested in Grandma's worthless farm." His response came instantly. "Don't you dare sighing he. We need to talk." "Yes," I replied, "we certainly do." The next morning, my family stormed into the farmhouse. Uncle Richard's face was purple with rage, Aunt Patricia looked like she'd been crying, and my cousins were uncharacteristically quiet. "You can't sell to Morrison," Uncle Richard declared. "I won't allow it." "Allow it?" I raised an eyebrow. "I don't recall needing your permission to manage my inheritance." "You don't understand," he sputtered. "That land, there are complications." "You mean like the fact that you've been secretly negotiating with Eden Properties for the past 5 years?" I pulled out a stack of emails from the USB drive. "Or that you knew about the railway junction rights all along?" The color drained from his face. "Where did you get those?" "Grandma kept excellent records," I said calmly, "including documentation of every time you tried to convince her to sell. She also documented the kickbacks Eden Properties offered you to help pressure her." Aunt Patricia gasped. Bethany and Marcus exchanged worried glances. Only Sarah looked thoughtful, as if seeing me in a new light. "That's why you wanted me to sell you the farm so badly," I continued. "Eden Properties promised you a percentage if you could deliver the land within a month of Grandma's death. But that deal expires, let me check, tomorrow." Uncle Richard collapsed into a chair. "You don't know what you're doing, Emily. This is bigger than you." "No," I stood up, feeling stronger than I had in years. "This is exactly what I was meant to do. Grandma didn't leave me this farm because I was a failure. She left it to me because she knew I'd understand its true purpose." I walked to the window, looking out at the sprawling acres. "This land isn't just valuable because of its location. It's valuable because of what it could become." I pulled out the development plans my grandmother had drafted. A sustainable community development, affordable housing, a farmer's market, green spaces, a project that could transform this entire region while preserving its character. Morrison Development Group has agreed to partner with us, yes, us, to make it happen. They'll provide the capital and construction expertise, while we maintain controlling interest and oversight. Us. Sarah stepped forward, ignoring her father's glare. "Yes, Grandma left the farm to me, but her vision was always about family and community. I'm establishing a trust to manage the development. Any family member who wants to participate constructively is welcome to join." I turned to face them fully. "So, Uncle Richard, you have a choice. You can either fight me on this and risk exposing your dealings with Eden Properties, or you can be part of something meaningful. Something Grandma would have been proud of." The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, Sarah spoke. "I'm in. This is the kind of project I've always wanted to work on." Slowly, the others began to nod. First Marcus, then Bethany. Even Aunt Patricia looked intrigued. Uncle Richard just sat there, decades of schemes and manipulations crumbling around him. Over the next year, our worthless farm transformed. The old railway junction became a transportation hub for the new community. The fields bloomed with community gardens. The barn was restored as an event space. Even the farmhouse found new life as the development's welcome center. Uncle Richard eventually came around, though our relationship would never be the same. The others threw themselves into various aspects of the project. Sarah managing community relations, Marcus handling technology integration, and Bethany surprisingly skilled at marketing the sustainable lifestyle concept. On the day of the grand opening, I sat in Grandma's rocking chair, now restored and placed in the welcome center, watching families explore their new community. A young girl ran past, clutching a fresh tomato from the gardens. Her mother followed, calling out thanks to the master gardener who'd helped them plant their first vegetables. I opened Grandma's journal again, smiling at a passage I'd read countless times. "The true value of land isn't in its price tag, but in its potential to nurture and grow community. Money comes and goes, but legacy, real legacy, is about the lives you touch and the future you help build." My phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. "Just got another award nomination for Sustainable Community Development. Grandma would have loved this." Yes, she would have. Because she knew all along that this worthless farm was actually priceless. Not for its monetary value, but for its power to heal our family and build something lasting. As I watch our community grow, I often think about that while reading, about my relatives' laughter and scorn. They thought Grandma had punished me with a worthless inheritance. Instead, she'd given me the greatest gift of all. The chance to prove that true value isn't always visible on the surface, and that sometimes the things others dismiss as worthless are actually the most precious of all. The farm isn't just land anymore. It's become a symbol of transformation, of family, of community, of possibility. And every time I see a new family move in, or watch children playing in the green spaces, or hear the buzz of the farmer's market on weekend mornings, I send a quiet thank you to my grandmother. She didn't just leave me a farm. She left me a future. And in the end, that's worth more than all the beachfront properties and security portfolios in the world. As for me, well, it turns out I didn't need that finance job after all. Managing this development, watching it grow and thrive, has become my life's work. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about growing into something bigger than anyone thought possible. Even now, years later, I keep Grandma's journal close. Its final words have become my guiding principle. Remember, dear Emily, that true wealth isn't in what you own, but in what you build. And sometimes the most valuable things are the ones that others are too blind to see. Looking out over our thriving community, I couldn't agree more. The worthless farm had become priceless, not just in dollars and cents, but in a legacy it would leave for generations to come. And that, more than anything, would have made my grandmother proud.